Hey everybody, it's GobletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing another Premier Draft of Throne of Eldraine. This is a nice throwback draft to this draft format from a couple years ago. It's a pretty welcome change of pace from Dominar United, as well as this format is pretty monocolored focused, whereas Dominar United has tons of dual lands, tons of multicolored cards. Eldraine has a primary mechanic in the format called Adamant that wants you to have 3 mana of one color. So this is very much just like a 2-color format maximum, and sometimes you can even go monocolor. Anyways, without further ado, I think I'm going to take Sir Conrad here. This is a very nice finisher, a 5-mana 5/4 that's going to deal a damage to your opponent whenever a creature is put into their graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or creature leaves the graveyard, or a creature dies. So if creatures die, if creatures are getting milled, if creatures are getting discarded, your opponent's taking damage. So a lot of ways this helps deal damage to your opponent. So Sir Conrad, super sweet finisher, going to be the pick there. There was also a Bell of the Brawl, which is pretty nice. 3 mana, 3/2 menace is already a pretty good aggressive threat, and if you have any other knights, it's going to be very good. And luckily for us, we get past another Bell of the Brawl, so that's a pretty fine follow-up to Sir Conrad, as Sir Conrad, as it's in the name, Sir, is also a knight. So Bell of the Brawl, pretty solid follow-up here. The other good cards in that first pack were the aggressive red cards, the Scorching Dragonfire for just a cheap removal spell, and the 2 mana 3/1 thing that has an adventure attached. That's the other main mechanic in Eldraine, is the adventure mechanic, which is another pretty sweet one. It makes your creatures a little more flexible, gives some of them some instants attached, like the Garenbrig Carver's Shields Might here. You can cast this combat trick adventure here, and then still cast the creature later from exile. So it makes these creatures pretty dang valuable. But that being said, I'm still going to take the Bell of the Brawl to go with Sir Conrad to start it off here. And we could head in a mono-black direction here, getting past a Resolute Rider. This is a hybrid mana card, so you can put it in a black deck, a white deck, or a black-white deck. It's a 4 mana 4/2, not a great body size. It is kind of a lot of mana to give it indestructible. Actually, the more I read this card, the less interested I am in it, but it is a knight, would be fine in mono-black, but that is a lot of mana to give it indestructible. Only 2 mana for the lifelink though, but the fact that it only has 2 toughness means you're going to need to give it indestructible quite often, or at least threaten to. We do have Forever Young, which is pretty nice. Put any number of creatures from your graveyard on top of your library, so late game you can just put your whole graveyard back on top of your library, and you know you're drawing gas for 3 or 4 turns. Unexplained Vision is really nice if you have a lot of blue mana for that Adamant. Yeah, I could see Rider or Forever Young, maybe even Cauldron's Gift could be an okay spell there, but I guess I'll go Rider and stick to just Knights for now. We've got a pretty solid white removal spell here, Trapped in the Tower. Enchant a creature without flying, and that creature can't attack, block, or activate its abilities. I could see that going into black-white Knights. Every card we've taken so far is a Knight, and Resolute Rider already pushes us kind of in a black-white direction if we're taking any secondary color here, so I like Trapped in the Tower. That seems like one of the best cards in this pack. Other great cards like Rosethorn Acolyte a lot, very good mana fixer and mana ramp. Opt is pretty good in the format. There's kind of a draw to sub-theme going on in blue-red, where the card is really good, but we'll go with Trapped in the Tower. And now we've got Knight of the Keep, which is a knight. Got a Wandermare, pretty hard to play in a black deck, though we're already 3 cards deep into black as a color, so I don't think we're going to take a Wandermare here. I really don't like playing 3 color in this format. We've got a Reaper of Night, which is a pretty solid deal off of the adventure. Make your opponent discard 2 and then get a big old 4/5 out later that can be flying if your opponent has too few cards in their hand. Probably Reaper of Night or Forever Young here. I guess Borrow Witches is sort of like a Gravedigger for Knights, but doesn't seem like a monumentally great rate. I think I'll take a Reaper of Night. And this is a format I'm not incredibly experienced in, so I am going to be kind of relearning the format here quite a bit. It's also been a very long time, and I don't think this was a format that was ever out for Premier Draft. I think it was Quick Draft exclusive at the time. It's been so long. Silver Flame Squire's got a fine little adventure, solid little adventure there. Tournament Grounds, I guess, is Night mana fixing. Frogify looks like okay removal for blue. Malevolent Noble looks like a fine 2-drop. I think I want the Squire. Another Reaper of Night. That's about it. There's a Giant Skewer for some equipment. There's Pinocchio. Not too much going on here. I'll take a Reaper of Night. Another Trapped in the Tower. Easily the pickup for me here. It's between that and a Foreboding Fruit, which is a pretty good deal. 3 mana to draw 2 and lose 2 life, but you get a food token if you spend 3 black mana on the spell, encouraging you to be heavy in black with this, which we already are. But I'm going to go Trapped in the Tower. That just seems like very efficient removal. Okay, this all looks like sideboard nonsense mostly. Maybe an Eye Collector. Probably not going to make the cut. Another Eye Collector. Scavenger seems like a fine deal if you have a lot of artifacts and enchantments. We're not in blue at all. And Carver's a fine deal, that little combat trick there. Don't like Outflank. Dealing damage only to attacking or blocking creatures and only equal to the number of creatures you control. It's pretty narrow. Okay, we've got Festive Funeral. Target creatures -X/-X till end of turn, where X is the number of cards in your graveyard. That doesn't seem very flexible. It doesn't seem like it's always going to kill what you need it to. I think I'd rather take the Forever Young. Again, seems like a pretty good play late game. And early game, it's just 2 mana, pick up your best creature in grave. Immediately put it in your hand. Another Forever Young, alright. Does Sir Conrad trigger when cards leave the graveyard? Oh, yeah. Ooh, Sir Conrad Forever Young as a win condition late game? Once we've milled ourselves a bunch, cast a Forever Young and return every creature in our grave to our hand and deal a damage for each creature we did. Or not our hand, but our library. They'd still be leaving the graveyard. Yeah, that's pretty cool. This is definitely like a Sir Conrad combo deck here. Acclaimed Contender looks like a Knight Tribal Rare to me. When it enters the battlefield, if you control another Knight, look at the top 5 cards of your library and you can reveal another Knight, aura, or equipment. Put it into your hand, so we can grab a Trapped in the Tower, or we can grab a Knight. Acclaimed Contender seems pretty solid. Archon of Absolution seems pretty nuts too. I mean, a 4 mana 3/2 flyer, protection from white. Creatures have to pay an additional mana to attack you. That's a lot stacked onto a 4 mana 3/2 flyer. That seems really good. Cauldron Familiar is also pretty great if you can get a lot of food tokens. We don't have any food production right now, but if we get a Witch's Cauldron, that's the combo that's like impossible to beat in draft. I think I'm just going Acclaimed Contender here, sticking to Black-White Knights for now. But that is pretty cool. Another Cauldron Familiar, a Bake into a Pie, very efficient, very good removal no matter what happens with our deck, or Piper of the Swarm. This can be pretty explosive. It takes a little while for it to pop off though, so your opponent has quite some time to get removal for it, but if your opponent does not manage to draw removal in 4 turns, this card will win, but that's a lot of work. It's a lot of time for your opponent to draw the removal, in which case you spent all of your turns making 1/1s instead of doing something good. Yeah, Piper of the Swarm, Bake into a Pie, Cauldron Familiar are my top 3 here, and they all seem really good. I'm going to take the one that's, I think, best in the widest variety of positions, which is just the removal spell, Bake into a Pie. A little bit boring there, but I think it's a pretty reasonable pick. Got an Ardenvale Tactician, which is a very good rate on a card that's also an important creature type for us. It's a Human Knight. So this is a 3 mana 2/3 flyer, or we can Dizzying Swoop as the adventure to tap 2 target creatures and get aggressive. So seems like a pretty great deal on that adventure. Pretty good creature type for us as well. It's between that and a 3rd Forever Young, so pretty easily the Tactician. Okay. Do have a few adventure creatures here. So the Pathlighter is a 3 mana 2/2 flyer with upside. It can get some additional +1/+1 counters onto any creatures that we're playing with adventures, but Youthful Knight is probably pretty important for our deck. It's a 2 mana Knight, so it's the only mana cost worth of Knight that we can play to still play the Contender on turn 3 and activate its ability. Plus, it's just a very good rate 2 mana for a 2/1 first strike means this is a 2-drop creature that's going to beat most other 2 mana creatures in combat, because most 2 mana creatures are going to be 2/2s with some random ability, maybe 2/1s, and this one's just going to first strike those things away. So Youthful Knight seems really, really good for this kind of deck. Got a Clockwork Servant here. This is basically a triple black for a 2/3 that draws us a card. Pretty good deal. I'll take it. There's another Borrow Witches, which would be fine, but Clockwork Servant card I'm a pretty big fan of in this format. Alright, third Trapped in the Tower. Don't mind if I do. Also Steel Claw Lance, but I don't really want to do any splashing. Especially since I've got some good adamant cards like Clockwork Servant. Ginger Brute. Ardenvale. Paladin is technically a knight, but it's a really slow one, a 4 mana 2/5, maybe a 4 mana 3/6. But black is our main adamant color we're trying to hit 3 of. Yeah, I really don't like this Festive Funeral much, especially when we have triple Trapped in the Tower and a Bake into a Pie. I think I'm just going to take the Ginger Brute. Nice little dork. Gets in for some damage early game, and then it makes sure that you have a way to keep getting in for damage late game, because your opponent can rarely block this thing if you put the mana into it. And at any time, you can just sack it, gain 3 life, cash it in. Pretty fine card. This pack looks pretty weak for everybody. Scavengers does seem like the best card, but I don't think it's happening. I'll just throw a Silver Flame Ritual on the side. If we're going to wheel all the Cauldron Familiars, it's possible we can get some... get a Witch's Oven in pack 3 if nobody's taking the Familiars. Although Lonesome Unicorn looks probably like the safest pick for our deck. Gets us a Knight token and then a creature later in the game, which is good. I'm going to go with the little bit spicier pick. I'm going to try to do Cauldron Familiar themes, if possible. Just scoop up the double Cauldron Familiars since they're going to wheel. We're not going to play either of these. Yeah, the cow gives you that food so slow that even if we have food synergies, I don't think it's making the cut. All right, we have double Cauldron Familiar. Let's just open a Witch's Oven, shall we? We did not open a Witch's Oven, but we did open a couple Knights. We have an Oathsworn Knight. This enters with 4+1/+1 counters. It attacks each combat if able. If damage would be dealt to it while it has a counter on it, prevent that damage and remove a counter from it. So your opponent gets to remove a counter from this every time they chump block it, and as soon as they get a creature that's higher toughness than it has power, it's going to be useless. Pretty aggressive rate, though, and we have triple Trapped in the Tower to make sure this thing can just get in for a few turns. This might be pretty solid in our deck with triple Trapped in the Tower. It's also the good creature type. It's a knight. I think I'll take that here. Again, not confident in it. I'm not experienced in this format by any means, but Sir Alan would be the next best card. That's what we're hoping to wheel. But if not that, maybe an Ardenvale Tactician. Okay, we did not get past a Witch's Oven, which is pretty sad. We did get past a 4th Trapped in the Tower to really curve out on some fools. I think I want to go for that. What's the creature count at? 19? Oh yeah, we've got more than enough of everything. We're just going to have to cut some mediocre cards to finish the deck. Like Eye Collector's probably getting cut. I'll take a 4th Trapped in the Tower here. Wicked Guardian also looks like a pretty good deal if you have a lot of 3 toughness creatures. I did want to mention that earlier. It was in one of the earlier packs, but I can only speak so much. I did factor that card in. I think it looks pretty solid. But I have noticed those running around. We might not get a Witch's Oven. That's 3 packs, no Witch's Oven. That would be pretty sad. Tempting Witch gives us a food, which can help with the Cauldron Familiars, which I guess is the pick. Actually, no, it should be Castle Ardenvale, shouldn't it? This just makes our deck better. Put this in instead of a Plains, and all of a sudden we have random late game mana sink if we're flooding out, making a bunch of 1/1s. Probably better than the Witch. And the rest of these cards almost definitely, although Giant Skewer does look good with the Cauldron Familiar. I think I'm still taking the land. Another Bell of the Brawl seems awesome for our deck, but we're also low on cheap plays. I really want a Youthful Knight. Youthful Knight and Bell of the Brawl both look awesome here. Really hard choice, because Youthful Knight makes it more likely we can get that dream curve of turn 2 Youthful Knight, turn 3 Contender. It also helps us curve out more aggressively because we have a lot of 3 drops and not a lot of 1s and 2s yet. But Bell of the Brawl seems so good. I'm going to take the more consistent mana cost here, take the 2-drop. One that fills out the deck better. Now pick 5. Looks like a whole lot of nothing. Random 4-drop knight, I guess. Smitten Swordmaster looks excellent. This is probably the second best 2-drop for the knight deck outside the Youthful Knight. 2 mana for a 2/1 lifelinker, and you can even use it as an adventure. Drain your opponent for X life, where X is the number of knights you control. For just 1 mana too, that seems like a great adventure. Picking up some awesome stuff here. Now we can take a Lonesome Unicorn. I didn't check for a Witch's Oven last pack, I hope there wasn't one in there. Alright, final pick. Witch's Oven, come on, one time, fingers crossed. No, double Cauldron Familiar, we did not get the Witch's Oven. Sad day on that front. Get my 4th Reaper of Night if I want a million of these. This combat trick seems not great. This seems pretty hard for us to cast, quadruple black. I guess 4th Reaper of Night it is. We did wheel the Ardenvale Tactician, which is sweet. Toss that in the deck. Grab another Forever Young. Grab a Giant Skewer this time. I don't think I'm going to play 4 Forever Youngs. And maybe I'll go Giant Skewer, Cauldron Familiar, Synergies. Bunch of nonsense. I actually think both of these cards are really good. Especially Unexplained Vision. 5 mana, scry 3, draw 3 is obnoxious. So I guess nobody's in the heavy blue deck in our draft pod. But yeah, it's a little hard to take a turn off spending 5 mana to not affect the board, but if you're ever in a position where you can do that, like the board states at parity, things are equal, scrying 3 and drawing 3 cards is putting you monumentally ahead in card advantage. It's going to be really hard to lose past that point if you weren't already on the back foot. If you were already on the back foot, it's going to be really hard to find the time to cast this spell. That's the problem with it. But yeah, in games where you're not on the back foot, I think that card looks nuts. Okay, now that I have my card styles in order, I think I'm going to give up on the Cauldron Familiar synergies. It's just a 1 mana 1/1 at this point. We only have like 2 or 3 food makers. And we only have 1 in the deck right now, and we have a Giant Skewer in the sideboard, so yeah, we'll get rid of the Cauldron Familiars. Oh, need to put the Sir Conrad card style on, which means I need to cut it and then turn it from the sideboard. I don't know when this update happened, but they've made putting card styles on during draft even more frustrating. It would be really nice to have default card styles and default basic lands added to Arena at some point, fingers crossed, Wizards, so I can set all of my cards to default to the regular art, because I am not a fan of the Parallax card styles, and they give you a lot of them when you didn't ask for them. Alright, I'll cut the Knight of the Keep. We have 20 creatures. Yeah, we want to cut a few of those for sure. Maybe cut this Ginger Brute. Silver Flame Squire is a soldier and not a knight, which means that, you know, flavor-wise, this card is failing in our deck. But I like the fact that it's a random combat trick here. A lot of 3-drops, but they all look pretty great. Paladin doesn't look that sick. Because we have so many 3-drops, I feel like Unicorn is not as good, because it's also kind of a 3-drop, 3 mana 2/2 knight. And the Reaper of Knights are kind of 4 mana discard spells. So that would be 4 cards cut, and then we cut 1 of the Reapers. I might be happier to cut 2 Reapers than 1 Reaper and 1 Unicorn. Sure, I'll keep the Unicorn in, and then keep double Reaper, and that'll be the deck. I think that'll be the deck here. Black, White, Knight, Aggro. Alright, here's a look at the deck we're going to be playing today. A very aggressive deck. We have 4 2-mana removal spells here to try to keep the ground clear for all of our aggressively costed knights. We've got 2 Youthful Knights, a Smitten Swordmaster, and a Silver Flame Squire to get things started, so 2 mana 2/1 most games. And then we have Acclaimed Contender, which can draw us a card if we control another knight. A couple Ardenvale Tacticians, which are nice evasive knights that also can tap some things down. Bell of the Brawl is an evasive knight that also buffs all of our knights every time they attack. And the Oathsworn Knight here being just a big chunky knight, especially if we can get blockers out of our opponent's way so they can't whittle down this creature's power and toughness and remove those counters from it. We've got a couple decent value plays, like Clockwork Servant draws us a card when we play it, a few cards with adventures that we could leverage into basically getting 2 cards off of one, like the Lonesome Unicorn, the Silver Flame Squire. These are both adventures where we can kind of go up a card because we can use the On Alert to win a combat, kill one of their cards without spending a card of our own. The Lonesome Unicorn, obviously the 2/2 knight, can get into combat like it was just a full-on 2-mana 2/2, and then we get another creature out of it later. So there's just some decent ways to go up in card advantage, and also triple Forever Young later in the game really sets up our draws and makes sure that we just hit whatever evasive knights we need to close out the game after they've died earlier. Another huge value play, our biggest end game card, is kind of the Reaper of Night here. Forces our opponent to discard 2 cards, then puts a gigantic 4/5 body onto the board that could potentially have flying as it attacks. And then the coolest card in our deck, the coolest win condition, Sir Conrad the Grim, the biggest knight, a 5-mana 5/4, and whenever a creature dies or is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature leaves my graveyard, it's going to deal 1 damage to each opponent. So as creatures are dying in combat, our opponent is taking 1. As Sir Conrad is milling creatures off of the 2-mana ability, Sir Conrad's dealing 1 to our opponent. And if we're lucky, we get the really cool synergy where we drop down Sir Conrad after getting a bunch of early aggressive damage in, and then just use a Forever Young to put all of the creature cards from our graveyard on top of our library. Say there's 3 or 4 creatures in our grave, Sir Conrad's going to do 3 or 4 damage to our opponent, maybe finish them off there. So some really cool synergies in the deck. Other than that, pretty basic, just black-white aggro deck here with a stacker removal to clear the way. So we'll see how it does as we head into the gameplay. Alright, here we are on the play. I don't have double white for this Tactician, but other than that, it's looking pretty great. Yeah. Really want to hit that white source for Tactician, which is a bit awkward. I could cycle Forever Young just to draw a card and hope for plains. I don't have to actually put a creature from grave on top. Be losing out on some late game value, but I do have 3 copies of this, so I could draw into another later. But yeah, just in the interest of making sure we have double white on turn 3 so I can play Tactician into Contender. That would be where we really want to be here. And yeah, if I draw another swamp, I may just do that here. Yeah, I'm just going to cycle this and draw a card. Alright, no white source yet, but we dug 1 card closer. We'll see if we can hit one on the top here. Jousting Dummy from our opponents. Oof, 4th swamp. Super unlucky mana here. We run just about even. We're on a 9-8 split, 8 being the plains. Well, this is fine. Since we drew into the Lonesome Unicorn, we can make a Night token and then play Contender, still get the card draw off of it. We just don't get to play the best Night each turn. Another Jousting Dummy from our opponent. They're getting pretty aggressive here. Luckily, they didn't attack into that Night token, which is good for us because we really needed it. Oathsworn Knight is interesting. I think I just want to make sure I get my Contender value while I know I can. Get one of our Trapped in the Towers. For 3 mana, that gets +1/+0 till end of turn, so they can trade that up into a Contender. Don't know if I want to trade my Vigilant Knight into those yet. Especially since I have a Silver Flame Squire in hand. For a trick to trade into one of them. Especially if I hit another white source, so I could cast both halves. Just right before I said that, I draw the 5th swamp. Because ideally, then I could spend 3 mana and use the adventure, and then 2 mana and play that, but I guess I can trap in the tower and do it. Luckily, our opponent's kind of stuck on mana here as well. I guess I could Dizzying Swoop and play the Knight here. That's kind of fine. Tap down the cards I don't want to trade with. Attack in and then play the Oathsworn Knight. Seems pretty fine to me. It's mana efficient. So this has to attack each combat if able. And whenever damage is dealt to it, you remove one counter from it and prevent that damage. So every time they chump block, it gets one smaller. So they can deal with it eventually, but it gets to eat multiple of their cards before they deal with it. Unless they get something that has more toughness than it has power, then it gets to start eating counters. Well, then they get to start eating counters from it for free. 6th Swamp, all the way. Welcome. Now they can trade a single dummy into a contender. I probably just attack all 3 at this point and hold up my Squire's ability to save the contender, most likely. Just let the 2/2 Knight trade into the Jousting dummy. Okay, on board nothing's dying, so we'll just say okay. It's their own Silver Flame Squire. So they'd kill my contender, and I would not even kill the walker. Saving a 3/3 is not that great when I could just play a 3/3 Vigilance. So, I mean, honestly, it's probably just let it happen. Again, this is just part of being choked on white mana. We're not in as bad a position as our opponent mana-wise, but not having double white is pretty severely hurting us, because if we had double white, we could just play the trick and still play a creature that turn, and now we're gonna get Circle of Loyalty pretty hard. Their whole board gets +1/+1. Whenever they cast a legendary, they get a 2/2 Knight, and for 4 mana they tap it, get a 2/2 Knight, and they've got the 4 mana. That is really bad for us. I need to trap the Hengewalker into a tower to get in with my 2/2 Vigilant Knight. I did hit the next white source at least now, so I can actually Silver Flame Squire and trapped in the tower the same turn. Is that what I want to do, or do I just not attack with the 2/2 Knight? I think I want to attack with everybody. They're at 9 and I need to pressure them or we're going to die to this Circle of Loyalty pretty quickly. They're just going to get too far ahead. And then we save the 3/3 Vigilance, because the only other thing we'd be doing this turn is playing a 2/1. So obviously, having a 3/3 Vigilance on the board is better than having a 2/1 on the board. Unless I really wanted to hold on to this trick and try to sneak in the final 2 points of damage, that would be an alternate line, but then the Unicorn would be dead. We'd only have an Oathsworn Knight for trying to do that. Couple Silver Flame Squires, getting multiple blockers down here. Here's a Castle Ardenvale for us. We're definitely just playing the flyer now and trying to get in with that. But first we send in the Oathsworn Knight, because it has to send in. It'll chip a blocker away here. Okay, working on Lethal in the Sky now. There's a prized griffin. That is no longer going to happen. Now we are flooding a bit. This is super bad. Now the Oathsworn Knight has to chump attack. I could send in the Tactician as well, but then they kill the Tactician and just lose a Squire. Alright. Oathsworn Knight's still putting in a little bit of work. I'll take it. Gets another blocker out of the way. Way better than what could have happened. Opponent is still at 5 lives, so they still have to play really safe for now, even with the pretty nasty mythic. Yeah, they just get to slam down 3/3 vigilant blockers every turn. Shepherd of the Flock on Hengewalker. That is pretty excellent. Negates are trapped in the tower. Now they get to cast the Shepherd, and the Hengewalker didn't get to pay Adamant for it, though. Their mana's not going that well. Reaper of Night to make them discard their last card in hand. I can't afford to do that and cast the Reaper. And if I cast the Reaper, it's a 4/5 flyer, so it just bounces off a Prize Griffin anyway. So I think I want to make them discard their last card in hand, because it would just bounce off. Oh, nice. We got rid of a Twin Veil Tree Folk. That feels good. Okay. Now they know our Oathsworn Knight's doing nothing, but there's nothing we can do about that. I guess I should have done that post-combat. Yeah, I should have done that post-combat, just in case they wanted to play around a trick again. They probably wouldn't at this point, now that they have a 3/3 to block the 2/2, because it doesn't really matter if that dies. But last time, the only thing that they had that could block the Knight without dying was the Prize Griffin, which was a pretty important creature for them. So I think even if we played the Reaper of Nights adventure post-combat, Oathsworn Knight's still probably getting blocked by Hengewalker. Send in the Shepherd of the Flock. Bold. I guess they still have 4 blockers up after they do this. I think I trade a 2/1 into it. I think I'm more interested in my board state being as wide as possible than as large as possible. So I would rather have 2 1/1s than 1 2/1. Because again, yeah, I could have popped the castle and then double blocked that with 2 1/1s. But I think I'm trying to go around their creatures. For like 1 extra point of damage when I draw Sir Conrad or something like that. I guess Sir Conrad kind of immediately kills them off of just the mill ability. Okay, Youthful Knight. That's pretty great. They do have the mana to make a 3/3 as well here. Alright. Not going to have the mana to make a 1/1 after I play this Reaper. Go to combat first, just in case they think I drew a mega awesome trick. Nope, block with the first striker, fair enough. Play the Reaper of Nights. I do need to play this land because I have a Castle Ardenvale soaking up so much mana. Forever Young. That's pretty big here. Just pick up an Acclaimed Contender and a Silver Flame Squire. Put the Silver Flame Squire on top, then attack with Reaper of Night. They have to block with Griffin, and I Squire to kill it. That feels really, really strong. Okay. So we're going to choose Silver Flame Squire and Acclaimed Contender. I don't think I want the Oathsworn Knight at this point in the game. And I want to put it so I draw Silver Flame Squire right now. This is the top card? What do you mean the first card? Okay. top there, it says on the right. See, the first card left to right is acclaimed contender. Arena's kind of confusing sometimes. Okay, top, Silverflame Squire. There. Okay. Presuming they don't have a trick, this is a really good attack for us. We kill them or we kill their prized griffin. And then if we kill their prized griffin, then we kill them next turn. Oh, would I rather play a 2-1 or just another 1-1? I'm just going to play another 1-1 from the castle. I don't think a 2-1 is significantly different at this point. It's not going to be attacking in on the ground. It's just going to be chump blocking. All right, they scoop them up. The Forever Young to pick up the Silverflame Squire as a combat trick and put it on top of our deck. Beautiful stuff there. Forever Young goes up in value even more when you have adventures, so that you can pull out whatever kind of spell you need at the time from your grave as well, not necessarily just creatures. That was a synergy I didn't even think about when I was drafting these Forever Youngs. I was really all in on the fun Sir Conrad stuff, but yeah, Forever Young seems really, really good with creatures with adventures. Like if we had a Tactician in graves, that would have been huge there as well. We would have just killed them that turn, pick up a Dizzying Swoop to hand, or a Smitten Swordmaster in grave, drain them a bunch of life. Forever Young seems awesome. Really good showing from that card to end that game. So I'll see if we can keep that up as we head into game 2. Here we are in game 2 with a pretty nasty curve if we can hit another swamp. But we have 2 Youthful Knights to start it off. I'll keep it. Little high on mana, could get flooded out. That could be an issue. But I do like the early game plays, especially if we hit another swamp. And there we go. So Youthful Knight to start it off. We are against blue-black, which was one of the more frustrating archetypes in the format. That was back when it was all quick drafts. Oh my god, they've got Brazen Borrow. This card is absurd. Bounce the card your opponent controls to its owner's hand, and then you get to play a 3/1 flyer at instant speed. So you even get to hold up counters and stuff. Luckily, our opponent doesn't have double blue for that, but maybe they're casting a double black card instead. No, just cast a card draw spell. Okay, let's just play an Oathsworn Knight while they're tapped out. But yeah, Brazen Borrower, that card was an all-star in Standard at the time. The card is a very, very good rate, and our opponent still does not have a second blue, or they're trying to hit Adamants off of black. Looks like Signpost Scarecrow is going to help them get to the blue. I can make it so that's activated abilities can't be activated, so they can't get the blue mana off of it. First of all, I should obviously just send in the Knight, and if they want to trade the Scarecrow for a +1/+1 counter, that is a-okay by me. That is probably a more efficient way to get rid of the Scarecrow. All right. I'll take it. I'll trade a +1/+1 counter for your 2/4. No, they've changed their mind. Okay. So we do have the mana to go Youthful Knight and Trapped in the Tower. That is what I'm going to do. Now they again can't get their blue mana from the Scarecrow. They have plenty of other cards they can cast though, and they're all cards that they need to cast more than the Borrower, because the Borrower can't block, except for blocking flyers. So even though they lack the double blue, it's not like the double blue card is a good one for them here. Wicked Guardian is a very good one. Draws them a card and gives them a 4/2 body to block with. Could tap it down with Tactician. Probably better to just attack in here and lose a +1/+1 counter. Okay. We lose a +1/+1 counter, put them to 12. And then we're just going to be as aggressive as we can here and play both of our creatures down. Try to close this game out in these next couple turns. Festive Funeral. Oh, they didn't have enough cards? Oh no, wow. Festive Funeral really, really rough for them there. They were one card off from that actually being lethal to Tactician, so they just tap out to do nothing, take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, go to 3 life there. That was really brutal. Even if the Funeral resolved, though, we'd still be in a great spot. Luckily for us, because we've got that Forever Young to just pick the Tactician right back up, get it back on board, still attack really hard. So rough game for our opponent there. That is going to be 2-0 for us. One of the things I was saying earlier was about the blue-black strategy. That was the archetype to beat in the format when it first came out, the most powerful archetype, because this was a format where you could only play it in quick draft, and a lot of the blue-black mill cards were very underdrafted by the bots. So whenever I see a blue-black deck, I get a little scared. I get some flashbacks to that time of all the blue-black mill decks that were really, really disgusting in the format. So that was what I was going to say at the start of the deck, and then just completely got sidetracked by a Brazen Borrower. I want to keep this hand badly. If I draw into a Plains, it's excellent. If I draw into any land, it's still solid. Bell of the Brawl, Oathsworn Knight. This is a very greedy keep, and I could very well lose because of it. But I'm going to do it. This is an LSV level greed keep. All right. One more draw here. This actually, it's probably a reasonable keep on the draw. On the play, I don't know. All right, well, we have failed. We're going to get beaten down by a better Knight deck than ours. 1 mana, 2/1 into 2 mana, 2/1 first strike. There we go. All right, we're in it. I don't know if we're here to win it, but we're in it. I'll play an Oathsworn Knight here. I'll trade some +1/+1 counters into all their early game creatures. The Knight does have to attack, so it's not going to be blocking later, but it does block really well this turn. It really disincentivizes the attack this turn. Whereas I feel like my other options are like Bell of the Brawl, which just dies to that Youthful Knight, or Youthful Knight. All right, Epic Downfall, not what we want to see here. We're down to 10 now. Lonesome Unicorn, that's a fine draw. Then I can trade half of a card into the Knight, and then trade a card into the other Knight. Sure. Trade half a card into Venerable Knight, and then trade a full card into the Youthful Knight. Either Trapped in the Tower or one of our own Youthful Knights. I think if I hit another Plains next turn, I'll just drop 2 Youthful Knights and get ready to block theirs. But if I don't hit a Plains here, I might just Trapped in the Tower to play around removal. Because I do have 3 more Trapped in the Tower in the deck and a another thing. Burrow, which is pretty solid value there. I do draw another Trapped in the Tower here. Probably have to trap their witches at this point. This isn't looking great for us this game. This is pretty self-imposed. I should have mulliganed the hand. I think a reasonable hand can beat theirs here. Because I think this hand beats theirs with 2 more lands instead of like Sir Conrad, Reaper of the Night. We'd be in a pretty stable position. We had 5 lands out at this point. But we hit our lands a little too slow, it was a little too greedy. Yikes. That's a pretty perfect card to have there. Doom Foretold. Going to demolish us. Very, very, very powerful card. 2-1 heading into game 4. Not keeping a hand like this again. Alright, this is significantly better. Might have to get rid of one of these trapped in the towers.
guess everything in the hand costs only 2 right now, but I think Youthful Knight plus Squire seems just too good to pass up, and it seems a little greedy to ditch a land and turn it into a 2-lander. Venerable Knight from our opponents, Youthful Knight for us. Another Black-White Knights deck. This is Premier Draft, not Quick Draft, so theoretically we will run into some other archetypes soon. Not everybody gets to draft the same deck as me. Outflank. No thank you. Right, put them down to 16. That little interaction there showing how busted Patriarch's Humiliation was. So it perpetually loses all abilities and text and stuff, so it like loses the +2/+2, and it would just still win that. Patriarch's Humiliation from the Alchemy Baldur's Gate set was just absurd. Alright, there's the Bell of the Brawl. Probably just going to trap that in a tower. And then play a Silver Flame Squire. So I'd like to get the curry favor from the Smitten Swordmaster. Wait, what is that? Oh. Is curry... curry a word outside of the food? I look at this and I just think curry flavor. I'm confused. Alright, they get to trade the Venerable Knight into our Squire. Because we get to kill the Knight while they don't have another one on board. So we get rid of that extra value there, and I'm about to play another 2/1 that would trade into it that's a little better. So I'd like to get it out of the way. Ooh, Black Lance Paragon, that's incredibly... Oh no, it doesn't give indestructible. I was going to say that's incredibly nice here. It's just pretty nice here. It does give them a 4/2. Because now they have a Knight out to put the counter onto. Yeah, that's pretty nasty for us. Ooh, Sir Conrad. We play that pre-combat, so every time a creature trades, we do some damage to our opponent. It's our first time we get to cast Sir Conrad, and he's pretty nuts here. They go for no blocks. Probably should have played the Swamp. I think there's huge reasons not to. Just keep my opponent in fear, maybe play around with something I don't have. That's the main reason. Wow. These Trapped in the Towers have been getting absolutely pooped on today. We've gotten Doom Foretolded, we've gotten Charming Prince. With Sir Conrad out, attacks are still just like straight up good. So we damage them to the face, or we trade creatures and damage them. Okay. That'll be 4 damage to them. 2 to the face, and then 2 from creatures dying. I can go for 3 mills off of Sir Conrad. This card's absurd. Pick one, pack one, this thing every time. This is just finding damage everywhere. Alright, opponent seems to be flooding out a bit. Sending in the Bell of the Brawl, getting damage in where they can. I'll take that 3. Does Sir Conrad activate when Sir Conrad dies? No, when other creatures die. Okay. There we go. We hit 1 creature in the 6 cards we milled. Now we've got a Bell of the Brawl. We do 2 damage if they let it through. We do 1 damage if they block. Whether we kill the Paragon or they kill the Knight with some kind of combat trick. Seems reasonable to assume Sir Conrad can find another 3 creatures off of the next 6 Sir Conrad mills. Could also just play the Bell, though. Then I do have a Menacer if Sir Conrad dies and Sir Conrad doesn't hit the 3 creatures we need. That seems like a solid alternate win condition. Yikes, opponent is really flooding out here, and that is going to cost them the game. It's going to be 3-1 for us as we head into Game 5. Here we are in Game 5. I'm not in love with this hand. The mana is perfect, and we have a good turn 2 and turn 3 play. The issue is that there's a little bit too much mana. 3 lands is like the perfect opener if you have a 2-drop, 3-drop. 4 lands, definitely possible to get flooded out, but still definitely going to keep. Still not at that mulligan level. I mulligan almost every 1-lander. Any 0-lander or 1-lander. I pretty much always mulligan every 6-lander or 7-lander. I pretty much always mulligan. And then 2-landers, sometimes I get really greedy, and 5-landers, sometimes I get very greedy, but rarely on both of those. And then, yeah, 4 is like right in the middle where I'm like, I'm going to keep it almost every time, but I'm never going to be super happy. I love me just 3-land hands with 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop in them, something like that. Those are beautiful. I've got a Smitten Swordmaster we've got to fit into the curve somewhere. A good draw for us. Opponent has a Curious Pair to stop the Youthful Knight from hitting them until the Bell of the Brawl gets involved, and the Bell of the Brawl is going to make this Youthful Knight a 3/1 first striker every time they attack. So opponent's on blue-green, and unfortunately does have the Charmed Sleep to use on the Bell of the Brawl, so the Youthful Knight is not going to get in. We do have a Trapped in the Tower that I could use here. It wouldn't be incredible, because I'm using it on a 1/3. So I'm going to wait on that, but that may be what I want to do in the future. For now, let's curry some favor and drop a Smitten Swordmaster. Yeah, if our opponent plays like nothing next turn, probably just trap the Curious Pair and start getting in for damage. And this could be pretty bad for us if our opponent has... Okay, I mean, a counterspell works, yeah. I was going to say if our opponent has Run Away Together, one of the main blue bounce spells, you get to bounce something you control and something your opponent controls. Oh, they were really holding that Hypnotic Sprite. We had like 5 mana. They got us pretty good off that one. Reaper of Night's a great draw here, because we can't afford the 7-drop half of it anyway, so we may as well Harvest Fear. And then next turn, we've got our 7-drop. Ooh, we got rid of a couple 6-mana 4/5s from our opponent. Pretty good discard for us. And now we are actually going to have potentially a creature big enough to start attacking in. Next turn. Witching Well from our opponent. They get to scry 2, then they get to draw 2 off of that for 4 mana. They do have to sacrifice it to do that. So it is a one-time deal. Clockwork Servant, pretty good value there. This is a Charmed Sleep, or not a Charmed Sleep, a counter and mill me a couple cards, but I can't play around it because they know I have Reaper of Night in exile. So they just know I'm going to cast Reaper. Okay, it is not the counterspell. which is very nice for us. It could be Charmed Sleep number 2, though. That could actually be a thing. Oh, there's the unexplained vision. I did say earlier that is such a huge swing in card advantage. It's pretty hard to lose a game after that resolves, which means it's going to be pretty hard for us to win this game. We got to get through all of these cards here. They've drawn 3 more cards, and they're setting up their next 3 draws. It's very, very powerful. Not a fan of seeing that here. Luckily, we do now have the better board state thanks to having a resolved Reaper of Night, but we're not that far in an aggressive lead here, so I could definitely see us falling behind to that. Draw 3, scry 3 they just resolved. Play the Servant pre-combat. See if it affects things. Another Trapped in the Tower does not really affect combat. We're just going to send in our 4/5. And pass the turn. Ooh, they've got a Castle Ventress as well. Fierce Witchstalker, another great play. 4/4 trample and a food token for 4 mana. Ardenvale Tactician, that's a spicy draw. That is a very spicy draw. I think I'm going to want to play the Tactician itself this turn and then play Trapped in the Tower next turn on Fierce Witchstalker. So let's make it so everything gets to attack in and at least trade, if this resolves. Looks like it resolves. So everything attacks in and at worst trades. Try to get as aggressive as we can, try to kill them before they can deploy everything that they've drawn, because they've also got a draw 2 lying in wait. So card advantage wise, they're running laps around us. Let's just kill them quickly. Forever Young's a little bit spicy here. Make them lose 3 life. Although I guess, yeah, they do just eat a food. They're at 12 here. I can Forever Young and immediately Curry Favor, drain them for 3. Feel like this is still a little better later when I have more creatures in grave. Another land for our opponent, another Fierce Witchstalker. Okay. Well, now they are down to 2 or fewer cards in hand, so the Reaper gets it in the sky. Killing them in 3 attacks in the sky right now. Animating Fairy, turn that food into a 4/4. Okay. That means the Reaper definitely hits them in the sky this turn. Gonna be a 2/2 flyer. Yeah, they have 1 card in hand, so I guess they could activate Witching Well next turn, so that it's not flying next turn. Trapped in the Tower doesn't seem great on a Witchstalker. Oh, I can make it so the food can't activate its ability? Oh my god, that might actually be the win, right? We put the Trapped in the Tower on the food, so the food can't use its ability anymore. We hit them for 6. They go to 6 life. They play an Animating Fairy to block there. They take 2. They go to... I guess they have the Witching Well, though. So go to 3 cards in hand. I feel like Trapped in the Tower on the food, though, is better than on the Witchstalkers, and we're probably casting Trapped in the Tower this turn. So I think that is what we're doing. We're trapping the food. But no, that isn't going to kill them in 2 turns. Yes, it's going to put them to 6 life, but they can use the Witching Well to make it so the Reaper of Night can't get flying next turn. They have exactly enough mana to play Animating Fairy and sack the Witching Well. And I guess even if the Reaper of Night gets to attack in the sky and just has the Animating Fairy chump block, I hit them for 2, put them to 4, then I pick up the Curry Favor, and I put them to 1. They're still not technically dead in the sky yet. So it'd be 3 turns lethal if all goes according to plan. Unless these tokens were knight tokens, that would be so good for us with the curry favor. Castle Ardenvale still pretty good for us here. We can try to go wide around their board state for a couple more damage. Again, they're essentially at like 3 life here because we have that curry favor in the grave. Stolen by the Fae. Return a creature to its owner's hand. Get a 1/1 fairy. Get X 1/1 fairy. So they get 3 1/1 fairies here. You can tap 2 of them with the Tactician. I don't see an incredibly massive reason to do that, because they already just chump the Reaper. And if I tap 2 of them, they can still chump with the 3rd one. So I think I would rather make a 1/1 right now, but maybe we'll tap them down this turn depending on what we draw. Oh my god, Sir Conrad. You are such a good card. Yeah, we're probably just playing Sir Conrad and the Tactician without tapping something down. I should have played Conrad. I should have done it pre-combat because I think tokens count. Yeah, tokens do die. That was a big miss. Should have pre-combated Sir Conrad. I would have gotten 1 more damage done here. Missed 1 point of damage. Alright, opponent's going to draw off the Witching Well looking for outs to Sir Conrad, and if they don't find them, they're incredible dead. Actually, oh, you know what? I probably missed lethal last turn, because I wouldn't have lethal on board with Sir Conrad, but I could have played Sir Conrad pre-combat and then just flunged, just attacked with everybody, because every creature that dies makes my opponent lose life, then found lethal by Forever Young into Swordmaster. Or just Forever Young with everything that died with Sir Conrad here. If my opponent can't kill Sir Conrad at instant speed, I am pretty sure a Flunge is going to get us there, so I go for it. Again, when we have a Forever Young after this, this is very, very likely to just kill my opponent with Sir Conrad triggers. They do have 1 food token now, but it's still going to be a lot of damage. Like a lot. Why would I kill the 1/1 fairy? I guess it's a flyer, gets out of the way for Tactician. That might be reasonable. You know what, Arena? Sure, let's be funky with it. Let's kill the flyer. That is lethal Conrad triggers, which means they have to sack the food now. Then they'll be at 2 life, and then I Forever Young for the final 2. And I Forever Young because that's more guaranteed than Sir Conrad is. With the Swordmaster on top, yes. 3 Conrad triggers, and that'll finish it off. Sir Conrad showing up, being a true homie. Ridiculously good card. And that game's going to push us into Mythic Limited rank. Here we are now in Game 6. We are 4-1 so far. This is a pretty excellent hand. The lack of the second white for Tactician's a little rough. Actually, pretty much the exact same hand I think we had Game 1. But yeah, the ideal curve here is to go Tactician, then Contender. Uh-oh. Opponents are really aggro if they're going to start with a Weaselback red cap. That's kind of scary because this hand is a bit slow. Uh-oh, are they the mono red deck? Mono red in this format is nuts. There's some really, really aggro red cards. Youthful Knight, luckily, perfect draw here. Really good at stopping aggressive starts if they don't have the Scorching Dragonfire to follow up with this. They do. It's mono red with the perfect curve to start out. This is looking really, really bad. Incredibly not what we want to see. It exiles too. Yeah, Scorching Dragonfire exiles, so I can't Forever Young my Youthful Knight, which is pretty brutal. I probably just tap their stuff down with Tactician here. I really don't want to lose contender value. And this is just going to trade into one of these tiny cards anyway at 3/3 status. I could cycle a Forever Young again. Just hope for a land there, but let's just stop the 4 damage here. Red Cap Raiders, another very aggro card. Drawn to a Smitten Swordmaster. Oh, that does give us a lifelinking blocker to trade off. Opponents in the think tank here. Makes me feel like they don't have immediate removal, at least. They might just make an attack with the Red Cap Raiders, because that can attack as a 4/3 trample, so it would not die to the Swordmaster. They are going to still attack with the Knight. I'm pretty sure we take that trade. On board. And my contender doesn't really pop off, but if I can hit a land, I can Forever Young and recast a Swordmaster, which is pretty big here. Both Sword Knight also pretty big. Shuts off their attacks for a turn here. This Trebuchet is going to keep damaging us every turn. No matter what. I think I'm going to play the Knight here. The Oathsworn Knight, specifically. I guess almost all of my creatures are knights. I really should specify. This is going to shut off their attacks this turn, and it's the most likely knight to still be on board next turn for a claim to contender. Another Weaselback red cap. Which gives them another Trebuchet damage. Okay. 4 mana. I can Trapped in the Tower and Forever Young. But I think I'm on a claimed contender. They obviously, I was going to say, yeah, they obviously don't block here. Could also Forever Young Swordmaster and have a lifelinking blocker again, but then they attack with just Raiders and I'm in a pretty bad spot. I think I have to contender here. Another Youthful Knight's pretty good. Do ideally want another white source. Another Scorching Dragonfire. Good lord, this mono red deck is good. They do 6 damage minimum here. 8 damage if they dump 2 mana into a red cap. We're looking pretty dead. Pick up the lifelinker and recast it. I still don't have double white, so I can't play Trapped in Tower and Youthful Knight, which feels like would be the best line that we could have. Yeah, no, and we're at 6 life here facing Trebuchet. We're at 5 essentially when we pass turn. Unless I trap the Trebuchet in a tower. And they just kill us next turn. Yeah, we die next turn pretty much no matter what we do. There's probably a line that survives 1 turn, but there's no way we're turning this game around at this point. Just an incredibly efficient mono-red aggro deck there. Going to absolutely bully us. While we are getting a little bit rough on mana there. Not getting the double white we wanted. Alright, oh. It's back again. But this time I don't have a double white card in hand, so this is fine. I don't have a play till turn 3, but I do have a Trapped in the Tower if my opponent's really aggro again. So I am going to keep this one. Just have nightmarish flashbacks to all my other one planes hands that I've had this game. Or this draft, I should say. Do other creatures haste every turn? It's probably... That's scary, but probably fine. Probably not worth a Trapped in the Tower. Uh-oh. A big old Beanstalk Giant with haste later is going to be pretty threatening. For now, it's going to grab them land, grab them an island here. Claimed Contender. Well, we're going to want to get our Knight token out before we cast that. Yeah, it looks like we're probably just going to take one really big hit from something like a Beanstalk Giant and then pacify that. It's probably better to pacify these bigger threats. Ooh, thanks for that Hitching Arena. Very nice 2 FPS for a moment. If I Trapped in the Tower, I'm doing nothing else this turn. But if I don't kill this thing, like, I'm definitely dying to it. Hoping for a plains off the top, then I can Trap in the Tower and a Claimed Contender next turn, which would be awesome. Wow. They've got the card to give it flying in their hand. These Trapped in the Towers have been absolutely manhandled today. Every single different way to mess up my Trapped in Towers has happened. So nasty. Alright, well. Bake into a pie. There's the Fairy Guide Mother. Just for 1. Just for 3. Now we have to tap down their creatures when they play a Beanstalk Giant with haste next turn. So we need to hold up a white and 1 for the Ardenvale Tactician. Means I just play a Swordmaster right now. And then we trap the Beanstalk Giant in a tower the turn after this. Still no second planes. I swear to God the mana's not this lopsided. It's a 9-8 split. We've had so many games, though, where we just want to be able to play Contender plus Trapped in the Tower, and just can't. It's been rough. I guess I just have to play Trapped in the Tower, then, and hope they don't have another Fairy Guide Mother. I guess I get to eat my food, at least. And get some lifelink. They could have run away together off the blue splash because they're playing a lot of adventures, because that would let them put their adventure creature back in hand to recast and bounce one of my creatures. Out muscle. Okay, so they kill the Swordmaster I gain 2. Yeah, Guide Mother is permanently bigger though. It's gonna forever be a 2/2 flyer. And they play a 2/1. Give the 2/1 haste. I'll trade into it. And I'll gain some life. There's the second white source. I can play Tactician now. Could also make them discard their whole hand and just take 2. Go to 8. Then they only have 2 mana up though. It's probably worth it. Just get rid of their hand here. And they're playing 100% off the top. Oh yeah, it was Tactician trapped in the tower. Could Forever Young to be mana efficient, just put a Swordmaster back in my hand. Lifelink is pretty big here. Let's be mana efficient. Pick up the Lifelinker. Alright, they hit us for 2. We might be turning things around here. We'll find out. We definitely play the flyer. Now they can't hit us with the Guide Mother, then we drain them for 1 life and play a Lifelinker. Alright. Life totals are starting to get a little even, and we've got more cards to play around with than them, thanks to our Reaper of Night. Ooh, big things are happening. Maybe, potentially. Send everybody in. Because I'm gaining as much life as they're potentially dealing with the Guide Mother anyway. Then I probably want a good quantity of blockers here, so let's go Contender, Youthful Knight, but if we draw a better knight, we'll play that instead. Oathsworn Knight? Sure, better knight. Rose Thorn Acolyte, a 2/3 onto the board. Definitely feels like we have the winning position now. We've got another Forever Young for after all this. Send all that stuff in. Holding back the Swordmaster now because it just dies to Acolyte. Does nothing. They're down to 3, and here's a Reaper of Night, which does have flying with the size of their hand here. They play a land off the top, and that's going to be game. A big turnaround there. As nasty as it felt to get our first trapped in the tower, absolutely demolished by a Fairy Godmother. The second trapped in the tower coming in incredibly clutch on that Beanstalk Giant. To help us turn the game around, the bacon to the pie as well to gain some life. But I think the real winner of the game, the Harvest Fear from Reaper of Night, to get rid of their trapped in the tower, and more importantly, their additional flyer, the Ardenvale Tactician. Really close game, really good stuff from the deck there. We are now 5-2, guaranteeing we are in the money. Leaving this event with more gems than I spent to get in. We'll see how things go as we head into round 8. Here we are in round 8 on the play with Youthful Knights turn 2. If we hit any land, we have Bell of the Brawl turn 3. If we hit a Plains, we have Ardenvale Tactician. And even if we don't, we have Forever Young and Dizzying Swoop. I'm going to keep this one. If we miss a land drop, we'll just play 2 Youthful Knights in a row. If we miss 2 land drops, that's where we're really in pain. But we hit on the very first land drop, which means we are doing excellently here. Opponent starts with double forest, so a heavy green deck. Sir Farron the Hengehammer, very aggro green card. Whenever it attacks, another attacking creature gets +X/+X, where X is its power. Pretty sick aggro card there, but we're just going to play a Bell of the Brawl and try to out-aggro them since we are on the play. And by itself, the Sir Farron does just as much damage as our Youthful Knight. It needs another creature on the board to actually start stacking up into a lot of damage. And there's another creature, Emery, Lurker of the Loch, but that's a 1/2, so not that scary. Does let them replay all these artifacts they just dumped in their grave. Really fun little synergy there. They've got an Emery out with a bunch of artifacts in grave to choose from, so well built from our opponent. That's some pretty fancy stuff. I think I'm going to play Youthful Knight and hold up Dizzying Swoop here, rather than cast the Tactician. Because it'll do just as much damage. And I think that First Strike is giving us pretty much just as much evasion as flying would, and this way we make it even harder for them to block next turn. Just shutting off a bunch of blockers out of nowhere. They have 4 mana, so they could recast any of their artifacts, including the Witching Well. Ooh, Outmuscle, kill the Bell of the Brawl. That's not fun. Yeah, that's bad for us. I can Forever Young to pick up the Bell next turn, but not going to be that incredible. I'd almost rather just play the Tactician next turn to get a flyer out. They're probably not attacking us here. If they want to attack us here, I think I'll let them. If they want to attack us here, then I'll just play a Forever Young and play the Bell of the Brawl. If they don't want to attack us here, then we'll tap down their board and then play Tactician. Okay, they don't want to attack us, so let's get our damage in. So if I don't tap these down, they get to block a 2/1 First Strike with a 3/3. Ruin my day. I guess Bell of the Brawl is a little bit more damage, and it lets the Youthful Knights actually attack next turn. So I lied the whole time. I'm just going to replay Bell of the Brawl. I was giving you lies and falsehoods. Okay, they are at 8 life, but we're pretty much out of cards. I have another 2/3 flyer that I get to play. That could be pretty impactful here because they don't have any flying yet. Trail of Crumbs is a really nice value play that can really win a long game of Magic if they can produce more foods, because now every time they're sacking a food and gaining life, they're also drawing a card from the top 2, drawing a permanent out of the top 2 cards of their library. Bacon to a Pie was a pretty good draw here. I can't play the Bacon to a Pie and Ardenvale Tactician, so I think I want to just attack first and see if they actually are going to use any tricks to threaten to kill my creatures, and if they are, then I'll Bacon to a Pie. But honestly, their worst block on board for me is if they double block Bell of the Brawl, which is not that bad because they're going to 6 life if they do that, but they do have a food token, so they're not going to 6, they're going to 9. Or they're taking 6. So they're going to 2, they're going to 5 with the food token. This is a really difficult choice. I think I'm supposed to bake Sir Farron into a pie here. So I can kill all of their creatures and leave Bell on the board. Yeah, and they're going to crack the food, get a permanent from the top 2. So worst case scenario with Trail of Crumbs, it pretty much always hits at least a land. And it got them a Sage of the Falls, which is a pretty good one. 2/5 body there. Two-five body. Alright, so they are at 5. We'll keep the Bell of the Brawl on the board, and we'll eat some food in their end step. Gingerbread Cabin, that's another food. Gain 3 more life and draw another card off the Trail of Crumbs. Yeah, this card is sick. Really, really fun build around. Very powerful one. Just adding draw a card to all of your food tokens is bonkers. That is what they're going to do here. Go for that card draw. That means they're tapped out of playing the 2/5 here. And then tap out for Beanstalk Giant. They're dead on board then. Unless they got a great 1-mana play. I'll eat my food. Kind of disgusting. I just ate their Surferin. Alright, and that's just going to be lethal. They're just digging for outs and not finding any that are cheap enough. So we are just going to hit them for lethal on board, and we'll be 6-2 heading into the final boss. Win or lose, played the maximum amount of games of Magic today. We'll see how the draft ends with a so close 6-win run or a full-on 7-win victory. Alright, here we are with the final game of Magic for today, round 9. Round 9 of our Eldraine Premier Draft, our return to Eldraine. We've got the double white for the Tactician. We don't have any black cards in hand. Opponent's going first, which means we're on the draw. I mean, we have 1 black card in hand, but it's a 7-drop, so we can wait on the swamps. I'm going to keep this one. We are on the draw here to help hit our lands. And we've got multiple plays that are relatively cheap, like the Squire, the Tactician. Just need 1 land for all those to get active, and we have multiple turns to hit it. Still have another turn before I need to hit that. I think I will just play a 2/1 Squire here to get things rolling. Not a massive fan of it, but somebody's got to put something on board, get this game started. Opponent starts with a Tempting Witch, a 1/3 body, and we'll draw into a swamp. Clockwork Servant feels pretty bad here. Gonna wait till Adamant for that, but we will play the Flyer. Pass the turn. I might end up trapping the Witch in a tower. Doesn't feel incredible, but it could happen. Again, that's only really going to happen if our opponent plays nothing else. Deathless Knight. Okay, I'm going to trap the Deathless Knight in a tower, because otherwise that always comes back to their grave whenever they sack a food, basically. So we don't really want to kill that by putting it in the grave. We'd much rather lock it up on the board with something like trapped in the tower, so that's just what I'm going to do right now. Our opponent could have sacrifice outlets for it, which would be really bad. This is another card similar to the cat that synergizes incredibly well with the Witch's Oven. So really hope they don't have that. If they do, that would be like 4 for 4 on all of the different ways your opponent can ruin your trapped in the towers that we've dealt with. I think we've had an opponent bounce their own card. Maybe we haven't. We've definitely had somebody give the creature flying. Resolute Rider. Probably just trap that as well. Alright, now we're really hoping they don't have a sack outlet, because now then they would get value off 2 of their creatures here. Bake the Ardenvale Tactician into a pie, so we no longer have a threat. They have plenty of food. Well, now is the perfect opportunity. 2 cards in opponent's hand. Let's make them discard those 2 cards. You know, when you attach Mind Rot to a big endgame creature, it actually becomes pretty compelling. If you've watched a lot of my drafts, you'll know that I have a kind of sordid history with Mind Rot. I'm not a fan of the card generally, because it's like such a bad top deck later, but when you just slap it onto a giant creature body, it's like, okay, now I have a creature to play when I don't need the Mind Rot. Tempting Witch 3/4 body. I can give this indestructible for 3 mana. I can't indestructible on the Witch. I don't really want to bake the Witch into a pie, though. I feel like I play the Rider now, and I'm ready to give it indestructible next turn. The Witch isn't the problem, the Skewer is the problem. So if I kill the Witch and then they just play any creature that's bigger than a 1/3, I'm going to feel really bad of having baked the Witch into a pie. So we're just going to take a few hits from the Witch. Although the witch does get to start throwing food at us for 3 life loss per food, so we might actually have to kill the witch. But we do have a big lifelinker out now. As well. Fierce Witch Stalker. The witch and the witch stalker? That is a flavor fail. Okay, they don't have the mana to put the skewer on the witch stalker, but that is a scarier body to have a skewer on. They hit us for 3 a turn, we hit them for 4 a turn, and we gain 4. But they hit us for 3 and gain 3. I still win that race by a tiny bit, so I think I bake the Witch Stalker into a pie. And then I think I actually have to start hitting with Rider, because if I just hold it back to where they can't attack in, they can just start sacking the food instead to make me lose 3, and then I won't have gained any life off the Rider. So I think I just have to start hitting them and life gaining with this Resolute Rider. For now, I could just hit them for 6 naturally and play Servant, though. They have to throw food at me. I guess I hit them for 4. Hold back Squire Servant. Forced them to throw food at me instead of making another food right now. That gives them less food to gain life off of. Because they have to start throwing the food at my face instead. Just pieing me. Or throwing tomatoes at me. Tempting Witch would be better flavor if this was just a unsatisfied crowd to like a live show, just throwing food at you. Alright, so yeah, now they have to start throwing food at me, so I just start attacking with the Rider and giving it lifelink. And obviously they can't block it, because I just give indestructible if they do. If they don't block, we give lifelink. 6 mana left means I can't play Reaper of Night, though. A little rough, but I'm pretty sure I need to gain this life. Could play the 3/3 Vigilance Lonesome Unicorn, but if I play the 2/2 instead, I'm holding up the ability to eat my food and holding up the ability to give Rider indestructible if they draw another bacon to a pie. And those feel like pretty good abilities to hold up, that it's worth losing out on 1 power and toughness this turn. Oh my god, okay. Okay, the Great Henge. Luckily for us, no creature to follow up, but if they live any longer, every time they play a creature, they gain 2 life, get a +1/+1 counter, and draw a card. They don't even have to play a creature to gain 2, they just gain 2 every turn, period. Yikes, it's going to take forever to kill them, and now whenever they play a creature, they're drawing cards. This is not good. Well, we know they can't kill our Rider on board, so now we eat the food. We don't have to worry too much about our life total anymore. We have to really worry about killing them as quickly as possible. They have 4 mana towards eating food, so they can gain 6 life here, because Great Henge gives them 2 mana and they have 2 swamps. So they gain 6 life from food and 2 from Henge, so they're essentially gaining 8 this turn. Which puts them at 14 life plus a block, which means they block and kill this, take 4, 7, 8. They gain more life than they take. Oh my god. Now I can give Rider lifelink and play Reaper of Night, so that's probably what I'm doing this turn. I don't think I can attack with everybody, because then they're going to eat one of these and still gain 1,000,000 life this turn. I think it's just the Resolute Rider coming in. I still feel like I have the lead, but it's not by a lot when there's a Great Henge on board. There's a lot of draws our opponent could get that could chain into a big stabilization. Because again, currently they can gain 8 life right now. So I'm not really threatening enough damage for it to be worth sacking all my other creatures here. I'm not going to be able to afford to hold up Indestructible no matter what if I play this Reaper of Night, so we might as well give lifelink. If I had enough to spend 7 on Reaper of Night and hold up 3 mana for Indestructible, then I might not get the lifelink here. I probably would just not get lifelink. But since I can't play Reaper of Night and get Indestructible, we're just going to play Reaper of Night and gain the 4 instead. Alright, what'd they draw? If it's a land, we're probably just good. But if it's a creature, it's pretty bad. Oh my god, it's a creature. Do they have a knight in the graveyard? They do not have a knight in the graveyard. At least there's that. Another creature? Another card drawn, multiple blockers. Great Henge definitely trying to turn things around here. At least our Reaper of Night can hit them in the sky, and they are lower on life gain. They still have life gain for sure, but there's less of it. Rider can't get in anymore. They've got a 4/5 body. I think Great Henge is just running away with this game. Probably 6-3 here. Good lord. This set has some mega bombs. If we can draw into our Sir... Well, I can't remember his name, so he should be really mad at me. Oh my god, that is so nasty. They got Great Henge and Questing Beast? This feels like a predetermined loss. Now they have a Vigilant Death Toucher. Can't be blocked by small creatures. Haste. Anyways, our only out now is the mono black Sir that does a damage to our opponent every time a creature dies or we mill somebody. Otherwise, we are really losing. These are just incredible, incredible rares from our opponent. Great Henge into Questing Beast now. They can move the Skewer around to it. They also drew into a Reeve Soul. Blow up one of our creatures. So they've drawn like 3 cards per turn these last 2 turns. Well, 3 extra cards, so 2.5 cards per turn the last 2 turns. Yep, Questing Beast is pretty good here. I can only attack, or I can only block with Resolute Rider, and I can't afford to give Indestructible right now. Whole novel there for the Questing Beast. Now I can shut off the Questing Beast. They're at 10 life. I can hit them for 4 in the sky. They're essentially gaining like 5 a turn, because anytime Skewer does damage, they're gaining 3. Every time they tap the Great Henge, they're gaining 2. But yeah, we're kind of all in on flyers. We gotta just trap the Questing Beast here, so at least we stop taking damage. They only have 3 blockers if I trap Questing Beast, though, so they go block, 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 take 1, 2, 3, 4. They take 8 damage total. Don't think it'd be worth it because I'd lose all 3 of my creatures that they block. Just hitting with Reaper of Night alone. They have more than enough mana for if they ever miss on the Great Henge, if they ever don't get a creature for the turn, they can just move the Skewer around and get more food. If they put it on Bell of the Brawl, the only way that I can stop them from getting 2 food is to not block at all. But if I double block Bell of the Brawl, I can probably kill it. Almost definitely. But they do get 2 food. Alright. Let our Silver Flame Squire die. That's our weakest creature. I could also let this hit me. If I let it hit me, I go to 10 and they have a food. They're essentially at 14 life with 2 blockers, which means they go block, block, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They go to 4 life, but they gain 2 again next turn, plus a food next turn. Feel like I have to do this double block. Indestructible first, so if they try to respond with an instant, I just do it again. If I went for lifelink first, I couldn't afford to give indestructible twice. Alright, get 2 food. Revenge of Ravens. Yikes. Okay. Lose a life every time we attack them and they gain a life. This was another card that I remember being really frustrating in the quick drafts because there would be decks where people could stack up like 4 Revenge of Ravens. Just 1 is not that bad. But multiples of that card are absurd at lining up with each other. It's gonna take like 50 turns to kill them with this Reaper of Night. Because I hit them for 4, but they gain 3 life every turn. They gain 2 from that, and they gain 1 from Revenge of Ravens. So I'm essentially only hitting them for 1 a turn. So it takes 11 turns to kill them. Do I even attack at that point? I'm doing a net total of 1 damage to them, and they're doing a net total of 1 damage to me. This is really bad. Oh, I remembered his name, Sir Conrad. Now I can hope for him. Now I can cross my fingers. Sir Conrad. Off the top. Come on, Sir Conrad. I believe in you. I remembered your name the whole time, I promise. Please. Sir Conrad, I need you now more than ever. I'm getting bombed out of this game hard. This Great Henge is not fun. Alright, opponent draws another card. Okay, goodbye, Swamp. Probably should have played that. Skewer on the Barrow Witches. Do they want to trade their big dork for a 2/2? They do not. They just want a really big blocker of their own. Okay. Acclaimed Contender can dig for Sir Conrad. Will Acclaimed Contender find him? Yikes, okay, well, it's a good thing these are going on the bottom of my library. Okay, then. So Acclaimed Contender essentially just scryed 5 for us, and we put all 5 on the bottom. Thank you, Acclaimed Contender. Actually incredible work done by that card. I'll take it. Thunderous Snapper, they draw even more cards now. Maybe our opponent will just mill out. Especially with Sir Conrad, that does mill them faster. But they're very quickly getting to a position where they start beating us down. And I don't think they're quite there, but if they want to go for it, I'm pretty down for that jam. I'll trade 2 2s into 6 6s. I guess 4 5s is the stat line without the skewer. Indestructible first, so I can activate it again if they respond. They do not respond, so now I'll give lifelink. They have exile removal. It's over either way. Alright, they don't have exile removal. Kill the witches. They get a bunch of food. Spitten Swordmaster. Not horrible. We gain more life. Give us more time to draw Sir Conrad. Try to get that mill victory. Still have the 6 mana for the double ability on Resolute Rider. Again, it's kind of a 1 life swing if I throw the Reaper up. Not like vomiting, like throwing it at them. Throwing it upward on the board. That was a poor choice of words. And they're gonna start throwing food at me. I'm down to 22. They have 13 cards in their library. They're gonna draw 2 cards here. They can't not, right? They can't choose not to draw a card, which is big. They do have a big flyer now to hit me with, though. That's not good. So I do not have a flying blocker. For that Reaper, they're going to throw the skewer on it immediately, make their intents very clear. I thought I dumped 5 of you. Can't do anything. Okay, so we essentially have like no lands left in the deck now. 10, and then 1 engraved, so that's 11. There's 5 on the bottom. There's 1 land in the next 10 cards in our library. So theoretically we hit straight gas. We need another Trapped in the Tower. Or, oh, we have already used our 1 Bacon to a Pie. Okay, we need, oh, we've already used 3 traps. I need our 4th Trapped in the Tower, which I think we have. Yeah, we do have 4. We need our 4th Trapped in the Tower, or our Sir Conrad, or it's over. We need one of those in like the next 2 draws. Even Sir Conrad, it's a little late at this point. Because they can't even like attack with everybody to try to dump all these cards into the graves. Because of the Revenge of Ravens. Yeah, no, I think we just got Great Henged, which is right out of this one to end it off, sadly. Yep, these are draws we want early in the game that don't really impact things at this point. Again, I could be attacking with Resolute Rider to try being like giving indestructible and life gaining, but that just opens up for way bigger counterattacks when I don't have an indestructible blocker over here. Frustrating way to end it. They were incredible dead without the Great Henge, but Great Henged into... Not only did they Great Henge, but their next 2 turns, they played 3 creatures in those 2 turns to immediately get that huge card advantage swing and huge swing in the board state. And then the lead just becomes insurmountable with that card. That's cute. Not hit Sir Conrad anyway, so it wouldn't matter. 6 and 3. Pretty frustrating way to end it, but overall, a great draft, a great return to the format. Pretty big fan of all of those games there. Again, it is Great Henge. That's just... That's irritating on some levels, but it was a very good deck from our opponent. They definitely earned that win. They fought hard and struggled for it. It was a very, very long game. But yeah, we needed Sir Conrad, something like that. Could not get to our outs there. Overall, incredible deck here. Worked really, really well. Our only losses were to the very aggressive red deck with the really good curve with multiple exile-based removal spells too. So that was just a brutally efficient, brutally aggressive deck from our opponent. I think a lot of decks would have lost against that curve from our opponent there. And then our other loss was to a really greedy keep on my part. Kept a super greedy keep and then lost the mirror match, I believe it was. And then the final loss, that was pretty much just like, if I found a better, more efficient line earlier, maybe I could have found a bit more damage, and by stacking in a bit more damage earlier in the game, we could have found a late game flunge for lethal. But I don't think there were any like glaring, massive gameplay errors costing us that game. It was just the huge turnaround from the incredible bomb power that comes from the great Henge to absolutely take over the game and turn things around. So brutal ending there, but overall, great time with the deck, some great games, and some great losses and great wins. So had a really fun time with Eldraine. I plan to do a lot of these drafts in the coming week. This will be the main format I will be playing, because I really want to break from all of these standard draft formats, play something a bit different, and Throne of Eldraine is definitely quite a bit different from Dominar United, much more focused in terms of the colors that you're going with. There aren't just dual lands flying around anywhere. There are no dual lands in Eldraine as far as I know. There's like Fabled Passage maybe. So it's really cool to have a set that really focuses your decks a lot more than it feels like some Dominar United decks with the whole domain strategy and stuff, where you're just all over the place splashing everything in the world. If you open an off-color bomber, you're like, okay, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take every dual land, and I'm just going to play it. With Eldraine, you're much more like, well, I have all these adamant cards, I want to really focus on one or two primary colors, and really get maximum value out of these cards. So it's a really cool change of pace, and really like the adventure mechanic and all that. Pretty fun format. Very excited to play some more drafts of it, but that is going to end today's draft. If you want to see more videos like this, as I was just saying, there will be plenty more on the channel, so stick around for that. You can like, comment, and subscribe if you want to send the YouTube algorithm a message to send you more of these videos. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.